What is going on, kings and queens of this wonderful wonderland that we call YouTube? We are back again with a scheduled video this time, as opposed to the last one. And today, I have to tell you that I couldn't be more excited to do this video, to do this review. And I would hazard to say that I've been waiting roughly 18 years for this moment. Because today we are finally doing a review of Pokken Tournament for the Wii U. Now I know you're probably questioning what I just said, and you're going, Hatter, Pokken Tournament hasn't been out for 18 years. It's only been out for a handful of months. So why have you been waiting this obscene amount of time to do this? And I will explain that to you. And to do that, why don't we jump in our time machines, let's jump in our DeLoreans, and go back 18 years into the past, 1998. If you were anything like me, in 1998, you were playing the first Pokemon Stadium game. Also, if you were anything like me, you would say that Pokemon Stadium is not just a game, it's a way of life. Now that we got out of the way, let me just ask those people that agreed with everything I said, the true, purest Pokemon Stadium fans out there, let me just ask you this one question. How many times when you were young playing that game did you think to yourself, wow, wouldn't it be cool to be able to fight the Pokemon? Wouldn't it be cool to control the Pokemon? Wouldn't it be cool to have the Pokemon Stadium setting like this, but instead of being the trainer telling the Pokemon what to do and fighting that way, wouldn't it be awesome to be able to control the Pokemon and fight like a traditional fighting game? And, wouldn't it be cool to have a game like that? Well, for those people that answered yes or whatever to that question, much like myself, 18 years later, in 2016, we finally have that that privilege to say that we have something like that. And sure, they tried on the Nintendo GameCube with Pokemon Coliseum, but I'm sure if you ask myself and pretty much anybody, any Pokemon Stadium fan, they'll tell you the same thing. When you compare them side by side, Nintendo tried with Pokemon Coliseum, but it just missed the mark. It wasn't quite the same as Pokemon Stadium, and it also wasn't what we wanted going forward. It was just kind of this weird attempt, I guess we'll call it. Do I think it's a horrible game? No, but it's just not great. Anyway, that's not what we're here to discuss. What we are here to discuss, of course, is Pokken Tournament, what I believe to be the true spiritual successor to the once great Pokemon Stadium. And for all the references to Pokemon Stadium that I've made thus far and that I will make throughout this review, let me explain to you how they're so similar. Starting with Pokemon Stadium, you have 4 level categories. You have like level 5, and then level 50, and then level 100, and just different level categories. And within each level category, so there's 4. Within each level category, there is a 4-level tournament. And what I mean by that, of course, is you have the Poke Cup first, you have the Great Cup, the Master Cup, and the Ultra Cup. So there's 4 levels with 4 different tournaments in them. And that's basically how you progress the game, is beating the level. Now, Pokken Tournament, there is leagues instead of cups and all that. There's leagues and there's tournaments within the league, and so on and so forth. So basically, the progression to the game is a little bit different, but like I said, you can still sense kind of a similarity. So Pokemon Stadium works that way. Pokken Tournament, sorry, lots of P words here. So, Pokemon Stadium operates that way. The way that Pokken Tournament works is that there's 4 leagues. There's the green, blue, red, and promo, I think it's called, which is the top of the league, like rank A Pokemon Masters. So you go through each one, you go through tournaments, and they start you off with a random like ranking, and you got to get to top 8. So you fight until you get to top 8. Just random fights. And then when you get to top 8, it becomes an elimination bracket. And then when you get through the elimination bracket, you fight the league masters, which is kind of the boss of each league, in a promotion test where you fight them, you beat them, and then he gives you permission to go on to the next league. And all the while, you can choose which Pokemon you want to fight with, and level them up, and put, skill points and things like strength and synergy, and stuff like that. So Pokken Tournament is a little bit more up to date, a little bit more complex than its predecessor, but there's still a lot of similarities in the gameplay. And I'm sure a lot of other people that have played it would agree. Another similarity that I think is cool, and unfortunately this is a spoiler, but I can't really avoid it because it's kind of one of the main points that I wanted to talk about. In Pokemon Stadium, the final boss is actually Mewtwo. In Pokken Tournament, the final boss, after you get through all the leagues and stuff, which in retrospective is only part of the game. The real game is to get to the real final boss, which is once again Mewtwo, this time a dark Mewtwo, a stronger ultimate form of Mewtwo. So, once again, sorry for the spoilers there, but I think it's really cool that the final bosses are the same. I think it's a really cool way to pay homage to Pokemon Stadium, and kind of bring it back so people who played Pokemon Stadium can play this and kind of reminisce and say, aha, we meet again, kind of thing. That's what I did anyway when I saw him the first time. I was like, alright, here's Pokemon Stadium all over again. Anyway, excuse me. That being said, so far I've had nothing to say but pros. I actually think the whole game's existence by itself is a major pro. But there is some con. Given I don't think the cons that I've come across are game-breaking ones, I don't think they're going to prevent anybody that has not played it that wants to. I don't think it's going to change your opinion of the game. And I don't think it really bothers anybody who has played the game. I don't think it's changed their opinion. There's just little nostalgic gripes that I have, such as the league Masters um, that you use to take your promotion tests are just random people. Uh, Me being the nostalgic person that I am, I personally think that it would be cool to see, um, I don't know, some of the fights and the promotion test league masters be either traditional um, gym leaders that we're familiar with, or the um, Elite Four. I don't know. It's just like I said, something small that I would have liked to see is a little bit of nostalgic attention to detail. Um, but you know, that's kind of small potatoes as opposed to the rest of it. So there was that gripe. Probably, honestly, the biggest gripe that I have against the game is just the roster itself. It's not a tremendously small roster, but it's not huge anyway. I don't really remember how many there is, um, but it's just with all the Pokemon that we have these days. It's just for the little chunk that we have available to us in the game is a very odd choice. Um, Ones that I wouldn't necessarily have picked, that I don't necessarily agree with. For instance, I don't think I would have imagined um, Suicune being in a game like this, in a fighting game. Primarily because he's a legendary, right? And it's kind of awkward knowing that he's a legendary to see everybody else in the game um, and their mothers have a Suicune to battle with. Um, there's Gengar, which is, you know, Gengar's in a Pokemon fighting game. Okay. Uh, there's one that looks like a freaking chandelier, one of the newer gen ones, and I have no idea what it is. Because to be honest, I kind of gave up around Gen 4, 3 or 4 is where I really got off the bandwagon and said no more. Um, but you know, so there's a chandelier that shoots flame lasers at you. And for all the new Pokemon Gen fans, I'm sorry that I absolutely. You probably know who I'm talking about, and you're probably raging at me. Um, I don't care. And then there's also not one, but two different types of Pikachus. There's regular Pikachu, and then there's Pikachu Libre, which is just Pikachu with a different move set, dressed like a luchador wrestler, which is kind of chuckle-worthy. The reason why I don't like it is it's nothing against having two Pikachus. I just think that instead of having two Pikachus, two separate character slots be dedicated to basically the same character, I think that they could have allowed Pikachu Libre to be an alternate um, character, like so many other fighting games have, or an alternate skin, rather. And I think I would have put somebody else in that vacant spot. Um, Surprisingly, being a Pokemon fighting game, there's only one um, fighting type Pokemon, Machamp, which, you know, everybody that I, excuse me, again, everybody that I would think about putting in the game ends up to be a fighting type. Like, where's Hitmonchan, where's Hitmonlee, you know, um, the list could go on and on if I was thinking about Pokemon that I would like to see in there, and I just have a huge list. So I think the roster is my biggest problem. The cool part is, another spoiler, you fight Mewtwo, and he joins the roster, which, you know, he kind of, there's kind of a square roster, but then there's sides off, there's bits off to the side where Mewtwo's character slot goes, which makes me hopeful that there's going to be DLC for it, which wouldn't be a bad thing. I'm curious if there was, to see who they'd throw in. Like I said, I'm severely hoping that this is the case, because after you spend enough time with the game, kind of the excitement goes away. You pick your main, you pick your favorite, and if you're like me, you don't touch anybody else, because the rest of the roster's kind of lackluster. That being said, like I alluded to earlier, uh, those two cons I don't think outweigh the fact that Pokemon Stadium fans finally have something genuine that they've always wanted. Something that's been 18 years in the making. That being said, with all the pros and the cons, probably the most important part of every review that I do is the rating. So I think uh, letting the cons weigh in here, letting them kind of affect the rating. It isn't much, but I think because of the little nostalgic things that they left kind of untouched, and the lackluster roster, in my eyes, of course that's just my opinion, somebody else might agree and say it's perfect. If you do, oh well. But those two little things leave me with saying that it is Pokken Tournament for the Wii U is a 9 out of 10 for me. All things considered, I think if you're a Pokemon fan, Pokemon Stadium fan, Pokemon fan in general, like I was when I was younger, definitely check it out. I think there's just kind of a heartfelt feeling playing it, because it is something that I've always fantasized about. So I'm sure the rest of you will enjoy it the same way I have. But also, if you're a fan of fighting games, definitely get it, um, for that reason also. And like I said in my Mario Kart review, I almost said let's play for some reason, but review, it looks absolutely stunning. The 3D models of the um, the Pokemon and the movements and the ultimate forms and the attacks are very fluid. They're visually stunning, and it's just all around a great game, minus the two little things that I've said. Um, but yeah. Anyway, in closing, it's a 9 out of 10. If you're a fighting game fan, check it out. If you're a Pokemon fan, check it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. So until next time, guys, as always, I salute you. And remember, we're all mad